Hi, this is Walter with Yellowstone Country Fly Fishing, and today I'm starting my weekly fly tying video with a bit of a peek behind the curtain here. What you're looking at is my backstock of my bob hoppers, and you can see there's quite a few colors here. What you may be noticing is that these are actually all the same size, because the dirty little secret is that this is only one of my boxes for this pattern. Here's the other one. These are the 10s and 12s. The other box was the 14s. And as you can see, I tie this pattern in a huge range of colors, 3 sizes, looking to add a couple sizes with some slight tweaks this season. And sometimes I dub the bodies, sometimes I add extra legs, but this pattern is by far the best hopper that you can fish in Yellowstone National Park and the surrounding region. I will die on that hill. I will outfish anyone else most of the time using these versus any other hopper pattern. And they're easy to tie, they're durable, they work. Today I'm going to be showing you the plain Jane version, just kind of the original in the color combination that has been most productive of late. And by of late, I mean in the last 10 years or so. And what you're looking at here, hopefully it'll focus, doesn't seem like, there we go. What you're looking at here is the plain peach or flesh bob hopper. It's kind of a washed out pink. And that's what I'm going to tie today. I highly encourage you to tie and fish these anytime from mid to late July through early October. Alright, so after that introduction, here it is. This is a bob hopper. This is a pale peach version, or flesh, whatever you want to call it. And this has generally been the most effective version in the past few seasons. I like to envision this as being the pink one. Pink is a very popular hopper color out here. It's kind of like the pink one that's gone through the wash a few times. It's just lower water, brighter sun, clearer water, the slightly paler version of it. And at the end here, I'll show you some other colors I do it in. So the hook is going to be a size 14 1XL nymph hook, and that's a bit of a change from what I used to do on these smaller ones. This is my standard bob hopper. I also tie what I call a big bob hopper, and I always tie that one on a nymph hook. I've done a previous video of this pattern, the original bob hopper, on a dry fly hook, a short shank dry fly hook actually, but I've switched it. Sometimes I'll use, if you're not going to be using a nymph under it at all, you could get away with a size 14 1XL dry fly hook, just your standard TMC 100 or whatever. But if you're going to be nymphing it all with it, especially, and also just from a durability standpoint, I feel like the slightly heavier hook is better because you got a dropper hanging off of this that pressure, if a fish grabs that dropper nymph, it's going to straighten out the dry fly hook. It won't straighten out a nymph hook. And by that same token, you bang it off of a rock or you just catch a big fish, the nymph hook's a little sturdier, it won't bend. And on this one, I like orange thread, just straight orange thread, just straight fluorescent orange. On, the pink one, I would do red. And I'm going to make a thread base basically just down to my hook point here, maybe a little beyond. And I can tie one of these in about a minute and a half if I'm not actually talking into the camera. So you don't have to get super, particular with it. But then I crisscrossed my thread a few times, finished about midway, roughly between that back of that thread base and the eye. And my body is a pre-punched, this is based on a beaver tail from River Road Creations, but it's actually tweaked slightly. I'm having a hard time getting them now. The molds changed a little bit, and the last version I got from the guy at River Roads, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, wasn't really right. We were actually thinking about putting these into serial production so that they'd be available to purchase. In all honesty, I'm not commercial tying anymore. I would probably just cut a foam strip as thick as the midpoint here and then just taper it, or maybe even make it more like this point on the fly, make it that thick and then just taper it. The fish aren't going to care that much. These are available commercially from Catch Fly Fishing, and I'm positive they don't use body punches. They just have foam strips. All right, and you see here I've cut a couple holes in there, and I did them a little off center, but I'm just going to tie the fly and it'll be fine. Again, you don't have to be super. This is a really easy fly. I don't even know why I'm talking so much. But what I'm going to do is take that rear hole, so kind of at this waist area towards the back end of the fly. I'm going to slide that onto the hook and then rotate it. And I always like to actually tie that in first, so I'm going to do just a couple turns right there. And then I'll take that front one over the eye. And what I'm actually going to do, and actually I did that out of order. Before I put that in the eye, you see how I'm backing up onto that foam. I'm pinching that foam a little bit. That's actually going to lock that in a little bit. Then I poke that over the eye. And I'm going to make thread wraps here right behind the eye. Now I will dub the body on some of these, but the original ones all had kind of just that little peak of contrasting thread underneath the body. And you know, tan one, black one, purple one with maybe pink thread, green. You know, a lot of your standard hopper colors work great with just the thread. I do dub them, and I'll show you some of those in a second, but I find that most of the time the thread ones work on the size 14s here just as well or better. All right, so now what I'm going to do is go ahead and take that, lift that up, and I'm going to put some super glue onto that hook shank and then press the body down. And then I'm going to grab my wing here, which is Polar Bear Montana Fly Company Widow's Web. And on this one I always use the Polar Bear. On pretty much all of the other colors I'm going to use either white or, you know, a more natural tan color. Obviously, you know, your standard hopper wings are going to be some kind of a tan usually. And so I'll kind of mix it up. I'll tie some that are more high visibility with the white wing, and then I'll tie some that are kind of a little bit more natural for, you know, mixing it up purposes, because sometimes it does seem to matter. All right, so I've got a little bit of stubble there between the wing and the head, so I'm going to put some super glue on that as well. And then I'm going to fold that over. And just a couple turns. Every time I'm doing something with the foam here, or with my thread at this point, I'm only doing a couple turns because I don't want that to get too much thread buildup right there. My legs on this color are loco legs in bonefish pink, so kind of a pink. And like I said, this is kind of a washed out pink, and so I'm restoring some of that brighter pink, but not as much as if I used a foam strip that was pink. On the actual pink ones of this pattern, I use yellow legs, yellow and black. I cut these legs way too long. This is literally the first one of these I tied this winter, and so I'm not actually doing it as well as I usually do. But I'll wind up trimming those legs here in a second, just because I did tie those too long. And then for my indicator here, I'm just going to use a slip of orange foam, and I'm going to just trim that off. This is your standard 2mm foam. I don't know if you saw how I did that. What I usually do, I don't use 1mm foam for this. I just cut it essentially widthwise here. And so I can make a slip that's really narrow like that. And I've definitely switched over on these really small flies to making a skinny, tall strip of foam. You see how much that's poking up off the fly. I find that's more visible. All right, and then the final tying step here is to go ahead and whip finish, if I can find my whip finisher. There it is. And just a 3-turn whip finish is plenty, because I'm going to put some more super glue on here again. And one of the reasons I use these silicone legs is because they hold up a little better to UV light, and also just the glue. I can actually use super glue on those and not have them disintegrate like if you use rubber legs. All right, so I'm going to grab my legs here and trim those to length. I like my front legs on hoppers to be a little shorter, and so you see how I've trimmed the front legs first, and then I trim the back legs. That one's still a little too long. And so it looks about like that, where those back legs are a little longer, maybe a little more suggestive of a kicker leg. And then from the tying perspective, that's it. But to make them snazzy, I always give them some googly eyes. And just a little black Sharpie. I use, on some of the colors, I'll use nail polish, because the black Sharpie isn't going to show up on a black one, for example. But there it is. I mean, you can see that's a very, very fast, easy, simple fly. And like virtually all simple, fast, easy flies, it opens itself up to an amazing number of variations. So I'm going to show you some of those. All right, so here we have one, and this is kind of my dark tan and cinnamon version. You see how that body is kind of cinnamon colored. This is a dark foam, dark tan foam. White wing, kind of checked pink legs here. That one typically works pretty well in late summer. This one here is the OG. That's the pink with a red underbelly. This was intended to be a small version of my GFA Hopper originally. And, you know, when I was hooked this small, getting enough segments on the GFA is kind of impossible. But this is often the best one when the water's a little bit higher, dirtier, cloudy. You know, the sky is cloudy. So in other words, it's not a washed out pink, it's just pink. And then the last few seasons, this color has been really good. This kind of dark yellow with a brown underbelly, and then yellow legs and a white, either a white or a tan wing. I'll tie it with both. That one's been really good, particularly a little earlier in the summer. I think they take that one more as like a stonefly or something. And then some of these have actually been used. I just grabbed them out of my box. Purple, of course, is a good color for hoppers. I mean, you're probably getting the sense I tie these in kind of the same colors as chubby Chernobyls, usually, some variation. I'll also tie this one, the purple one, with a pink underbelly, just that thread as the underbelly, but usually pink legs on the purple one. And then this little bright green guy, that color, kind of an olive foam with chartreuse, either a chartreuse thread underbelly, or as you can see here, kind of a flashy chartreuse dubbing underbelly. That one's good up in Yellowstone Park sometimes, like in the Lamar system where we get some of those young hoppers. And then this one, we call it the shocker, and I'm not going to tell you why. Pink and brown, and usually a white wing on these nowadays. Some of the guys up in Gardner really love this one. I actually don't use this one quite as often, but this one can be really good up in Yellowstone Park, like on the Yellowstone in the park. So those were all not all, but those were some of the most popular colors of the smaller kind of original bob hopper. And you know, I'll also tie it just in a straight tan because, of course, you know, a tan hopper. But this is a big bob hopper. This one's a size. That one's a 12, I think, or a 10. It's probably a 10. I tie the original bob hopper in 12 and 14, very heavy on the 14s. And I tie this one on the 10s and 12s. This one always has a dubbed underbody, and then I add either matching or contrasting legs in the back. This is definitely more of a chubby stand-in. I'd use this. I'll typically use a chubby Chernobyl in June and early July, but usually by about the 20th of July, especially by the beginning of August, I'm done fishing chubby Chernobyls for the season. I like my bob hopper better. And so I typically tie these in more stonefly-ish sort of colors. So like this dark tan with a kind of a paler belly and these really aggressive checked legs can be really good when they're eating the midnight stones. I am trying to figure out how to tie these even bigger. That's one of my goals for this spring, is get a size 6, 8, 10 version that's really a big stonefly. But this is kind of the pink and tan one. Stand in for your pink chubby Chernobyls, orange back legs, pink in the front, pink underbelly, tan on the body. So it's pink, but it's not in-your-face pink. The in-your-face pink doesn't work as well in large flies as it used to. And so little hints of pinks do seem to work fairly well. And then this one is, again, used. I mean, you can see that little tag end there from the dropper. But this is a cinnamon and cinnamon belly and dark tan, so it's just a little bit darker. Again, that's a good one in late summer. And I have the same kind of orange legs, and then or tails, and then the front legs are a little bit more aggressive here. You see how it's got the black barring on it, so it's a little more aggressive legs as well versus the lighter tan version. And then here, this one, I'll finish up. This is that really kind of mustardy yellow one. You can see that one's been chewed on. That one's caught fish. So these are coming out of my guide boxes. You know, they're backstock, but they're guide flies. And so this, like I said, I will stand this pattern up against any other hopper pattern in the right color anytime. middle of July onward, I'll fish this pattern until, you know, early October even. And pretty much guarantee I'll catch more fish than pretty much anybody else if I'm fishing my flies. Pretty good chance, unless we're not fishing dries at all, if the fishing's really tough or something. If you fish with me in July, August, September, we're fishing this pattern in one or more colors. I carry it, and I carry an entire box just of these. Let me put it that way. As always, thanks for watching, and if you find this video helpful, if you catch fish on this pattern, throw me a couple bucks in the buy me a coffee link in the pattern description. If you're looking to fish these patterns this summer in the Yellowstone region, book a guided trip. Flyfishmontana.biz. See you next time.